but we work to both educate and to find, vet, and endorse constitutional candidates running for office. We have two candidates endorsed this year, one of them being with us right here, Robert Smith. He is our only three-time endorsed candidate in the history of our organization. And the other one is out of Ohio, if I remember correctly. Um, Let me pull him up real quick so I can clear. Well, I don't need to. He's not from Missouri. This is Missouri Freedom Initiative. Anyway, we have two candidates endorsed right now. Robert being one of them, and we have endorsed him three consecutive election cycles, and he's shown it today. Tom Martz has mentioned in the comment section that he is proud of Robert because of how he has studied and soaked up the Missouri State Constitution. And that is exactly why he had the CGM's endorsement from us. He knows what he's talking about. He believes in what he's talking about, and he shows it. He acts on it. A couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, Patrick was talking about him during the. Actually, no, it was on Constitution Day.
Yeah,
Because
Constitution Day.
Yeah, you were on my podcast. So on Constitution Day, Patrick gave huge props on Robert because Robert doesn't just talk the talk; he walks the walk. He went to Jefferson to petition legislation.
To shut down HJR 79. Yep.
Yep. So that's why I have a deep admiration of Robert because he not only knows it, he stands by it.
Because Robert, to tell you the truth, has actually been tearing that book apart because he has a hell of a lot more knowledge on that state constitution now than he did when he took the Constitution class back about 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Robert, I mean, we're just blessed, that you come in and give us your opinion. You weigh in on things that are going on in Missouri, constitutional legislation. Robert, by the way, though he didn't say it when he was just talking right now, I want everyone here who watches this to know, Robert has actually walked the halls up in Jeff City with us on more than one occasion. So he doesn't just talk the talk. And I will say that every single person who is running for political office right now had a great opportunity to go and support basically trying to get rid of the sales tax on food in the state of Missouri. And I didn't see any other politicians up there that day. I just saw Robert. That's it. And we were up there all day. We would have run into somebody. But I want to say from the bottom of my heart, KC was up there too. He can verify this. We were up there to get rid of the sales tax on food. We were up there a long day. It was, holy mackerel, I'm trying to remember exactly. It was 9 hours. 9 hours we were up there. We didn't see anyone else who was running for office up there trying to get rid of that sales tax on food, which was very popular with the people, except for Robert.
Yep.
Robert, he was the only one. I mean, how many people are running for office in the state of Missouri that missed that opportunity, that didn't even understand, shoot, you can go and talk to these representatives and actually start working the process. And it doesn't look good, gang, because it's a constitutional problem. We'll talk about that with Mike Moon, though, hopefully in the next month after the elections anyway. But we'll get it. We'll try and start the process next year. But it's a fact. If those of you who are wondering, who is this guy, Robert Smith, he keeps coming on your podcast, what's the deal? Well, I'll let you know. I mean, he's running for office, but he's also walking the walk. He's actually trying to make Missouri free apart from campaigning too. He's going up to Jeff City. He's talking to reps. He's talking to senators. He's sending emails. So he's already doing the work of the people. So, he might as well do that work up in Jefferson City.
So the newspaper, Cedar County Republican newspaper, held a meet and greet, and they posted in the newspaper that Cedar County, we heard you. We heard that you wanted another candidate meet and greet, so we're going to do it for you. And these are the candidates we invited, and they listed all the candidates in Cedar County. They listed the write-in candidate, but they didn't invite me. They didn't invite me because they didn't want me there. I'd already asked my opponent once before if he would debate me, and he said I had no reason to. And the reason why he doesn't have he's wise to not come in front of me, because I would eat him alive and then I would spit him out. And he's good to not come in front of me and be put in front of a crowd. So he thinks he's safe. This Republican newspaper's trying to shield and protect him from me, and they didn't invite me. Well, I made a big stink. I posted on their page. I was like, what kind of crap is this? Why are you shielding him? You know, there's no reason why they would think that I'm not a viable candidate. They don't want me there. That's what happens. That's the media. That's the establishment. That's the duopoly power. That's the rhino BS that everybody complains about, because I'm the constitutional candidate. And you know what happened? I spent 7 minutes and 43 seconds and I destroyed him to his face. And it's funny because the original parameters of the debate was every candidate would get 3 questions, 2 minutes to answer, with the opponent getting 1 minute to rebuttal. But when I made a big stink and then they finally said that I could come, they changed the parameters that us 2 candidates, my opponent and I, would not debate. We would just get 5 minutes to speak. Well, you know what? I took 7 minutes and 43 seconds to prove exactly why they didn't want me there, because I would chew them up, I would spit them out, and I'd make them look like the fools they are. And that's exactly what happened.
You have that posted somewhere, Robert? Where can someone see that video of you speaking?
Prepared a few things to say, so bear with me. Good evening, constituents of Cedar County. Thank you for your time, and thank you for doing your civic duty and getting to know your options for State House District 125. My name is Robert E. Smith, and I am the Libertarian candidate. Libertarian candidates have been painted in a certain way by the duopoly and biased media, and today I will set the record straight. The establishment fears me, my opponent fears me, and the government, along with the status quo, fears me. They don't fear me because I'm violent, irrational, or crazy, which I'm not. They fear me because I represent what our founding fathers were, libertarians. Our founding fathers kicked against and eventually squashed the tyranny of the day. And what was that tyranny? An overreaching, ever-growing government that dictated every aspect of a citizen's life. Taxes, an abusive standing army, and constant interference from a king that did not respect personal liberties and freedom. Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence listed 27 grievances against the king to the world. And today, in 2022, most of those grievances, except a few, are being carried out by our governments, which has been ran exclusively by the duopoly since Andrew Jackson. When I meet people, I say I'm the constitutional candidate in District 125. I have over 10 years of U.S. history and constitutional study on my resume. I have traveled the country for the last 5 years, speaking at political committees, chamber meetings, and freedom rallies. I have done numerous radio shows and podcasts bringing an education to the masses that our government-ran schools failed to produce. In fact, during this election cycle, I have been solicited for speaking jobs, radio programs, and even a homeschool group invited me to come speak about the constitutions and our personal liberties. Our nation is headed for a huge cliff, and each and every one of us can see it. I'm 38, married, I have 4 children, ages 2 to 16 years. I hardly recognize the country I grew up in. It's dying. And the reason it's dying is because the duopoly has failed to honor the contracts between the constituents, and the constituents have failed to elect people who understand the true role of government. We call these contracts the U.S. Constitution, and in Missouri, the Missouri Constitution. Article 1, on the federal side, Congress hasn't declared war since World War II. You can look that up. For 20 years, they have spent $1 trillion more than they raise in revenue from the taxpayers. They waste our money, waste our resources, and they rob us of opportunity and our liberties with regulations. Article 1, Section 2 of the Missouri Constitution says that all constitutional government is intended to promote the general welfare of the people, that all persons have a natural right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and the enjoyment of the gains of your own industry, that all persons are created equal and are entitled to equal rights and opportunity under the law, that to give security to these things is the principal office of government, and that when government does not confer this security, it fails in its chief design. Our Missouri supermajority fails this section of the Missouri Constitution every year. This majority is partly responsible for the inflation we see today. In 2015, when Patricia Pike took office, the Missouri budget was $24.1 billion. 8 years later, it is $43.899 billion. 49.3% of that comes from the federal government that has to borrow $200 billion a month just to keep the doors open. They always have strings attached telling Missourians how we should live and what we should learn. How's that fiscally responsible? In 2030, all tax revenue raised will have to be used just to pay our interest on our national debt. My opponent will not protect your finances like I will. Our Republican supermajority gripes, complains, and rips Biden's spending policies for causing inflation. But yet Patricia Pike and the supermajority gobbles up every federal dollar they can, in turn, encourage the bad spending policies, giving us record-breaking inflation. They are not fiscally responsible, and neither will my opponent be. My opponent supports stealing money from you and giving it to his own industry in which he benefits. The Republican supermajority gripes, rails, and complains about the Green New Deal and Paris Climate Accord. But yet, they're going to spend $100 million installing EV charging stations for private companies. I don't own an electric vehicle. How does our taxes benefit those who don't own a Tesla? My opponent will continue to do the same hypocritical actions. The Republican supermajority complains, gripes, and slams the CDC and vaccines, but yet our Republican governor declared stay-at-home orders. Our Republican supermajority ignored Susie Pollock's HB 2009, which would have prevented school children from getting a shot they didn't want. They failed to fight business closures, forced vaccines, tyranny, fear, shutdowns, and medical malpractice, all while taking every dollar of COVID money they could. The Republican supermajority claims to be pro-2A, but it took 8 years to get the Second Amendment Preservation Act accomplished. They kill liberty-loving legislation all the time. I have witnessed it with my own eyes as I've been active in Jefferson City. I kill bad legislation by testifying in committee, and I promote excellent liberty-loving legislation. I'm the real supporter of 2A. I carry my firearm everywhere I go, because if you don't exercise your natural rights, you will lose them. Voting Republican doesn't secure your natural rights, because the establishment has learned all the buzzwords and catchphrases to trick the constituents into voting for a fake. Some call them rhinos, I call them unconstitutionals. My opponent will carry on these unconstitutional acts and will only assist in the demise of our great nation and our great state. I am the constitutionally minded, liberty-loving, personal rights candidate you have been looking for. I have the education, the experience, and the training to secure everyone's personal liberties, no matter who you are or which party you belong to. It's time to put liberty above party affiliations and to vote for the candidate that will continue to educate, advocate, and spread the message of liberty. I will empower District 125 with the knowledge that I have learned by using my office to bring it to the public. I will serve you with all my honor, and I will always secure your personal liberties because I'm the only candidate in District 125 that acknowledges and understands them. I have earned 5 endorsements: Constitutional Grassroots Movement, Informed Healthcare Choices graded me an A+ rating, United for Principled Politics, and you can only get that one for being pro-life. Missouri Right to Life ignored me, and all the other organizations ignored me, and all of my attempts to contact them. Missouri Mises Caucus and the Libertarian National Mises Caucus have also endorsed me. My constitutional plan for Missouri is vetted by organizations that promote constitutional values, as well as promoting local community members, businessmen, and leaders. I hope to have your support November 8th. Vote for me, vote for liberty, vote for Robert E. Smith. Thank you.